I didn't expect her to stay. She'd packed her things, slipped on her coat, and stood by the door, then turned, almost like she'd changed her mind halfway through a thought. "I'll stay late with you," she said. Just that. No smile. No reason. Only that quiet steadiness in her voice, the kind that made me forget what I was typing. Her name's Elena. 46. The kind of woman who made silence feel intentional. Every word she said carried that careful weight people learn after a few heartbreaks. Her perfume, faint vanilla and something deeper, sharper, lingered in the air long after she passed by. I'm Daniel, 27, still new enough at the firm to care too much about the details. How she took her coffee, how she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking, how she'd tilt her head slightly before disagreeing with me in that calm, measured tone. Tonight the office felt different. Too quiet. Too still. Everyone else had gone home, the overhead lights dimmed to a soft hum, and the city outside pressed against the glass. All those blurred headlights moving while we stayed still. Elena took off her coat again and draped it neatly over the back of a chair. "You should rest your eyes for a minute," she said, walking around my desk, her heels clicking softly on the floor. "I'm fine," I answered too quickly. She gave me a look that landed somewhere between amusement and concern. "You always say that." Her hand brushed the edge of my keyboard as she leaned closer, close enough that I caught the warmth of her skin. There was nothing in her touch that crossed a line, but something about the nearness of her hand made the air feel thinner. I tried to keep working, but I could feel her behind me, her slow breathing, her presence filling the room more than the light ever could. After a while, she said, "You remind me of someone I used to know." Her voice was softer now, thoughtful. "Someone good?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just looked out the window, her reflection framed in the glass, elegant, distant, unreadable. "Someone who tried too hard to prove he could keep up," she finally said. That one stung a little, even though she didn't mean it to. Or maybe she did. When she sat down beside me, our chairs nearly touched. She folded her hands, a small motion, but I noticed the tension in her fingers, how she kept them perfectly still, as if afraid they'd betray something. The clock on the wall ticked too loudly. I wanted to say something light, something to break the pull between us, but nothing came out right. She turned toward me again. "You really don't have to stay just because I'm here," she said. "Maybe I want to," I said. Her eyes held mine for a beat too long, a beat that said more than either of us should have allowed. Then she looked away, and the space between us filled with everything we weren't saying. The air conditioner clicked off, leaving a hush that felt almost deliberate. Elena reached for her coffee cup, realized it was empty, and laughed softly, a tired, private kind of laugh. "I should," she began, but stopped halfway. I turned to face her. "What?" Before she could answer, the elevator dinged, a sharp, metallic sound slicing through the quiet. We both looked toward the hallway. Her hand lingered on the desk, fingers barely trembling. "Don't move," she whispered, and for the first time all night, she sounded uncertain. The elevator doors stayed closed. No one stepped out. Just that hollow ding and the soft hum of the cables, like the building itself had taken a breath. Elena exhaled first. "False alarm," she murmured, but her hand stayed on the desk a moment too long before she withdrew it. I turned back to the screen, though I wasn't reading anything. My pulse hadn't caught up yet. It wasn't fear, it was something quieter, more dangerous. The kind of tension that didn't need words to exist. She walked past me, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said. "I wasn't. You were." Her tone wasn't scolding, just knowing. She stopped near the window again, folding her arms like she needed something to do with them. The city lights hit her profile, the faint silver at her temple, the soft line of her jaw. She looked older in that light, but not in a way that dulled her. More like someone who had survived too much beauty and learned not to trust it. She broke the silence. "I was married once. 15 years. Ended quietly." Her voice didn't crack, but it thinned around the edges. "He was just absent. The kind of absence you get used to until it feels normal." I didn't ask what happened. I didn't have to. The way she said it carried a weight that didn't need explaining. "You?" she asked after a while. "Nothing serious," I said. "I think people my age like the idea of connection more than the effort of it." That made her smile, faint, sad, almost proud. "You sound older than you should. Maybe I just noticed things." Elena turned, and for a second I thought she'd come closer. She didn't. She only leaned back against the window ledge, her reflection doubled beside her. "Noticing is dangerous," she said. It makes it hard to pretend. The lights flickered once, storm outside maybe. She moved toward the desk again, her hand brushing my shoulder as she steadied herself. A casual touch, except it wasn't. Her fingers rested there a moment too long. Warm. Intentional. I wanted to say something, but the words got stuck somewhere between my chest and throat. When she finally pulled her hand away, she stayed close. Close enough that I could feel the faint brush of her breath against my neck when she spoke. "You remind me of what I used to be like," she said quietly. "And you make me forget how young I am," I replied, before I could stop myself. That pulled her gaze back to mine. For a moment neither of us moved. The air between us wasn't just quiet, it was full. Heavy with everything unspoken, every reason why this shouldn't happen. The gap in age. The office. The looks people would give. But she didn't step back. Instead, she reached past me to close a folder, her wrist grazing my hand as she did. A tiny touch, but it felt deliberate, like a line drawn and erased at the same time. "Let's call it a night," she said, though her voice didn't sound like she meant it. I nodded, but neither of us stood. Her hand lingered on the back of my chair, fingers tracing the edge absent-mindedly. Then softer. "Daniel, do you ever get tired of pretending you don't notice?" I turned toward her, and for a second she didn't breathe. Outside thunder rolled, low, distant, but moving closer. And in that flash of silence between us, it felt like something had already begun. It started raining before we made it to the elevator. Heavy drops against the glass, the kind of storm that swallowed sound. Elena stood beside me, her hair slightly undone from the humidity, that calm she wore beginning to slip at the edges. "We'll wait it out," she said. Her voice was even, but her hand kept tightening around the strap of her bag. I nodded, pretending to check my phone. No signal. Just the two of us and the flicker of emergency lights. The office was half dark now, washed in blue from the city outside. The hum of the rain filled everything. She leaned against the wall, arms crossed, staring out at the storm as if it had something to say she couldn't. After a long silence, she said, "You know they'd talk, right?" I looked up. "Who?" "Everyone. HR. The partners. People who see things that aren't there." She gave a dry laugh, but her eyes didn't match the sound. "Maybe they wouldn't be wrong," I said quietly. That stopped her. She turned toward me, face unreadable in the dim light. "You shouldn't say things like that." I know what you mean." She cut me off gently, her voice lower now. "That's the problem." The air between us shifted, close, charged, waiting for something neither of us wanted to name. A phone buzzed on her desk, slicing through the quiet. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize. She hesitated before picking it up, staring at it like it was a test she didn't want to take. Then she turned it face down, unread. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Just someone from before," she said too quickly. "Doesn't matter." She moved closer again, maybe out of instinct, maybe because the thunder was too loud. Her shoulder brushed mine, soft, steady, deliberate. "You don't make this easy," she said. "I'm not trying to." That drew a faint smile from her, one that faded almost as soon as it appeared. "You should." Lightning flashed, filling the room in white for half a second. In that flicker, she looked almost fragile, the confident woman gone, replaced by someone who didn't know what to do with the ache she'd started. She reached for the file on my desk, her fingers grazing mine. Neither of us pulled away. "Elena." Her name came out like a question I didn't know how to finish. She looked up. For a second, the space between us didn't exist, her breath brushing my cheek, her eyes flicking to my lips, then back. Then the door handle turned. We both froze. A young intern's voice echoed faintly from the hallway. "Ms. Vance? You still here?" Elena stepped back fast, smoothing her hair, voice suddenly composed. "Yes, I'm just wrapping up. Go on home." The door shut again. Silence swallowed everything. Her pulse was visible at her throat. Mine wasn't much steadier. "That," she whispered, exhaling, "is exactly why this can't happen." "Then why are you still here?" I asked. She stared at me for a long second. Then, slow, conflicted, she reached out, fingers barely brushing my wrist. "Because I don't know how to leave yet." The storm cracked open again outside, louder this time. Neither of us moved. The rain hadn't stopped. It came down harder now, drumming against the windows like it was trying to drown the room. The power flickered once, then steadied again. We'd stopped pretending to work. The files were untouched. The lights too dim. The silence between us too loud. Elena sat on the edge of my desk, one leg crossed over the other, staring down at the city below, soaked streets, headlights smeared into ribbons of gold. I was leaning against the opposite wall, arms folded, pretending I wasn't watching her every small movement. She finally spoke without turning. "Do you ever think about consequences, Daniel?" "All the time." "And?" I shrugged. "They never feel as heavy until after you've already done it." That made her laugh, low, sharp, genuine. "You sound older than you are again. Maybe you make me that way." That silenced her. She looked over her shoulder, eyes catching mine, and for the first time tonight she didn't look away. There it was, the breaking point. You could almost hear it, that thin thread between us stretched to its limit. She slid off the desk slowly and walked toward me, her heels quiet on the carpet. I stayed still, like moving might make it real. "You don't know what you're asking for," she said softly. "I'm not asking," I said. "I'm just here." She stopped in front of me, close enough that I could see the raindrops clinging to the ends of her hair. One of them rolled down, tracing the line of her jaw. Without thinking, I reached up and brushed it away with my thumb. Her breath hitched. That small sound almost undid me. "Don't," she whispered. "Tell me to stop, and I will." She didn't. Instead, she leaned slightly, almost imperceptibly, like gravity was pulling her in. My hand was still near her face, and she didn't move it away. The air smelled of rain, paper, and the faint warmth of her skin. "People will think I've lost control," she murmured. "Maybe we both have." Her hand came up, hesitant at first, then rested lightly against my chest. I could feel the tremor in her fingers. "I can't be the reason you ruin your name here," she said. "And if you already are?" She exhaled, a shaky breath that felt like surrender and restraint tangled together. "Then we both lose." We stood there, inches apart, saying nothing, neither daring to close the distance. Lightning flashed, white light spilling across the room, catching in her eyes. I saw every unspoken word there. The want, the fear, the years between us, all crashing together. Her lips parted like she was about to say something, or maybe she wasn't sure which would happen first, the words or the kiss. Then a sound cut through it, her phone vibrating again on the desk behind her, louder this time, insistent. She flinched, pulled back slightly, her hand still on my chest. I reached for her wrist before she could turn. "Elena." "Don't," she said again, softer this time. "If I stay another second, I won't stop." The phone kept buzzing. Neither of us moved. The air between us felt alive, trembling. And when the vibration finally stopped, she whispered, barely audible. "Then what happens to us?" Her hand lingered in mine. No answer came. Only thunder. The next morning, the world pretended nothing had happened. The sky was too clear. The office too bright. The rain had washed everything clean, except us. Elena came in later than usual. No greeting, just a quiet good morning as she passed my desk, eyes fixed on the stack of papers in her arms. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. I tried to do the same, to bury the night before under emails and spreadsheets. But every time I heard her footsteps behind me, my focus cracked. By noon, the tension had settled like static in the air. Every glance was too long. Every silence too full. Then came the message. An email, subject line, private conversation, sent to both of us. No text, just a recording attached. Elena froze beside me, reading over my shoulder. The file name, office_afterhours.mp3. Her breath caught. "Someone was here last night," she whispered. I opened it before she could stop me. Static. Then the faint hum of rain. And voices, ours. "Tell me to stop, and I will." "Don't." The air between us thickened. She reached over, slammed the laptop shut. "Who sent it?" I asked, my voice low. Her eyes flicked toward the glass door. "There are cameras. Security reviews late-night entries. We weren't supposed to." She stopped, swallowed hard. "Daniel, this could ruin both of us." She turned away, pacing now. "I can explain it. I'll say we stayed late for work. That you were helping with the quarterly report. That's not what they'll hear." "I know." Her shoulders tensed, and for a moment, she just stood there, back turned. When she finally faced me again, something had shifted. Not fear this time, but defiance. "I'll take the blame," she said. "No. It'll make more sense that way. People expect it from me, the older woman who should have known better." I stepped closer. "You think I'd let you carry that alone?" She tried to look away, but I caught her gaze. The distance between us was small again, dangerous, familiar. "This is why," she said quietly. "I can't let you close." But her body betrayed her words, a tremor in her hand, The way she didn't move when I brushed past her to the door. Who would have sent it? I asked. Someone from your team? Maybe, she said. Or someone who noticed how we look at each other. The honesty in that line hit harder than the threat of exposure. She leaned against the desk, one hand pressed to her temple. Do you regret it? I hesitated. No. Do you? Her eyes met mine, steady, conflicted. Every second, she said. Then softer. And not at all. The silence after that was unbearable. I stepped forward before I could think better of it. Elena, I said, close enough that she could feel my breath. If this is the end, I'd rather it be for something real. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Then she whispered, lock the door. For a heartbeat, I thought she was joking. But she wasn't. And in that fragile, reckless moment, the one before a choice that couldn't be undone, neither of us moved away. The door clicked shut behind us. That single sound, final, quiet, irreversible, hung in the air like a secret that could no longer be unsaid. Elena didn't turn right away. She stood by the glass, one hand pressed against it, the faint tremor in her fingers giving her away. The city stretched beyond, bright and cold, while in here everything felt close, too warm. Tell me this isn't a mistake, she said, not looking at me. I can't, I said. Because I don't think it is. She laughed once, softly, the kind of laugh that comes from disbelief, not humor. Then she faced me. You don't understand what you're risking. I do. You don't. Her voice cracked. You'll wake up one day and realize this was just. It isn't, I cut in. It never was. Silence again, deep, heavy, alive. I took a step toward her, then another. She didn't move, only watched, her breath shallower now, her eyes flicking down, then back up. When I reached her, I stopped an inch away. Close enough to feel the heat of her, close enough to see the small scar by her collarbone, the one I'd never noticed before. Her words came out low, shaking. You think you know me, but you only see what I let you. Then show me the rest. She drew in a breath that didn't quite reach the end. Her hand rose halfway, maybe to stop me, maybe to touch, then dropped again. I've spent half my life trying not to need anyone, she whispered. And you make me forget why. I didn't speak. Didn't dare. My hand found hers, gently, uncertainly, and for a second she didn't pull away. Her pulse trembled beneath my fingers. I can't undo this, she said. Neither can I. Her forehead came to rest against mine, the smallest, most fragile contact, but it carried everything: exhaustion, fear, hunger, relief. Outside, sirens faded into distance. The rain had stopped. The world had gone quiet. Say it, I murmured. She hesitated. Then, barely audible. I wanted you the moment you walked in here. The truth landed between us, raw, final. It wasn't triumph, just release. Her hand came up to my face, fingertips tracing my jaw as if memorizing something she'd never admit wanting. Then, almost imperceptibly, she leaned in, her lips a breath away from mine. Time stopped. Then she pulled back. Just enough. This can't last, she said. You know that. I don't care. She smiled, sad and real. You will. She stepped past me, opening the door again. The rush of cooler air followed her. But before she left, she turned, just once, and met my eyes. You were never a mistake, she said. Remember that. And then she was gone. The office felt bigger, emptier, still carrying the echo of her voice. And the certainty that neither of us could go back to who we were before. 6 weeks later, I saw her again. Different city, same rain. I was walking out of a conference room, papers in hand, when I heard her voice. That low, even tone that used to stop conversations mid-sentence. Elena? She turned. For a heartbeat, neither of us spoke. The months had changed something. She looked lighter, or maybe just less guarded. There was still that calm in her posture, but the tension was gone, replaced with something quieter. I didn't think I'd see you here, she said. Guess we both can't stay away from the same kind of trouble. I tried to joke. That made her smile. A real one this time. Still saying the wrong things in the right way. We ended up at a cafe near the building. The city moved around us, umbrellas, cars, voices, but it felt like a pause in time. We talked about work, the weather, new projects, everything except what mattered. Until she said softly, You look older. Just tired, I said. No, she replied, studying my face. You grew into yourself. I wondered if you would. For a while, we just sat in that easy quiet. The kind of silence that used to burn now just felt steady. I reached across the table, fingers brushing hers. A small gesture, but it carried more than words. She didn't pull away. Her hand turned slightly, her thumb brushing my knuckles. People stared when I walked in, she said with a faint grin. I used to care about that. And now I just see you. That landed somewhere deep. All the things we hadn't said that night, all the fear and guilt and wanting, they were still there, but softer now, worn down into something real. The rain outside turned into a drizzle, and she leaned closer, her shoulder brushing mine. I could smell that same faint vanilla she always wore. Did you ever regret it? I asked quietly. She thought for a long time before answering. No, I regretted stopping. I laughed low. We could start again. She gave me that look, the one that had undone me before, but this time there was no hesitation in it. Just warmth. Maybe we already have, she said. When we left the cafe, the rain had stopped completely. She slipped her arm through mine without asking, and we walked like that. No pretending, no explaining, just two people who had finally stopped running from what they both knew. At the corner, she looked up at me, eyes soft, tired, content. You still think this is trouble? Only the good kind, I said. And when she smiled and rested her forehead against my chest, I felt the quiet answer in that small, steady moment. The kind that didn't need anything more to be complete. We stood there while the world kept moving, and for once, neither of us needed to hide. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?